There's an angry orangutan on the loose in South Korea. President Furious George was in Cheongju today as part of his Asia Palooza tour, and they're keeping him happy by giving him presents everywhere he goes, including a doozy from the president of South Korea.
We present this gold crown to you on this joyous occasion of your state visit to Gyeongju, because it symbolizes the spirit of Shilla, which brought peace to the Korean peninsula for the first time, and the opening of the golden age of the Korea-U.S. alliance.
Well, sadly, that's who that candidate really is. That is the kind of president they will be. And trust me, a candidate is not going to suddenly change once they're in office. Just the opposite, in fact, because the minute that individual takes that oath, they are under the hottest, harshest light there is.
Picture a man running a country like it's just another season of his old reality show. Except this time, he's not firing contestants, he's firing whole departments. That's where America found itself, trapped in the never-ending sitcom known as Donald Trump's presidency. Every cabinet meeting played out like an episode nobody asked to renew, yet somehow it stayed on air. And the best part? Jimmy Kimmel and Michelle Obama didn't even have to lift a finger. Their very presence seemed to make him implode, like a microwave burrito left too long on high. Loud, messy, and impossible to ignore.
Stay Puft Marshmallow Ankles was back home at the White House tonight, handing out candy to children. One of the kids was dressed as, you can see him here on the right side, as a light-up marshmallow. And watch this, because this is something Trump has done in the past. Instead of putting candy in the bag, he puts it on the kid's head and then sends him off on his way.
Trump here.
When you have a voice, you just can't use it any kind of way. You don't just say what's on your mind. Tweeting and social media, that is a powerful weapon.
It is.
Here you go. Tell it like it is. And it's like, no, you don't.
Yep.
You need to think and spell it right and have good grammar, too.
Before we get into the good stuff, hit that like button and subscribe, because trust me, you don't want to miss this. Kimmel, the undisputed king of late-night sarcasm, didn't even need to bring the heat. He just pointed at the bonfire already blazing. And then there's Michelle Obama. Everything Trump wishes he could be. Charismatic, respected, and capable of reading a full briefing without applause at the end. The difference is painful to watch. She glides through her speeches with grace, while he bulldozes through teleprompters like they're written in another language. Every time he talks, it's like autocorrect just gives up and starts playing charades.
How nice. I guess they were watching millions of us marching to say we didn't want a king, and they thought, hey, I have a great idea for a gift. A bejeweled crown. It's so embarrassing how easy he is to manipulate. It's like when you give kids Pokemon cards to get them to behave. A golf bag, a putter, a medal, and now a crown.
I think we have the hottest country anywhere in the world.
Maybe he could just stay there and be king of South Korea, huh?
Trump's presidency became the ultimate gift to late-night writers, a source of unending comedy that practically wrote itself. Competing with that level of unintentional humor felt almost unfair. Kimmel didn't even need to invent jokes anymore. Trump handed them out daily in 4K. The universe must have thought comedians needed a break and decided to give them the world's most unpredictable performer. This was a man tweeting about crowd sizes while the economy performed interpretive dance in the background.
It was a bigly busy day for the president. This morning, or maybe it was last night, I don't know, he was in South Korea meeting with the president of China for trade negotiations, which, according to one expert who was there, went very, very well.
I thought it was a great meeting. I think it was a very friendly meeting. It was a good meeting for two very large, powerful countries. Overall, I guess on the scale of from 0 to 10, with 10 being the best, I would...
Meanwhile, Michelle Obama didn't have to say a word to get under his skin. She could simply smile at a camera, and suddenly Trump would spiral into another late-night rant about unfair treatment. Her calm poise was sunlight to his ego, a vampire melting in broad daylight. While she planted gardens and promoted education, he was online at 3 a.m. battling imaginary enemies like a man swinging at ghosts with a golf club.
For years, Donald Trump did everything in his power to try to make people fear us. See, his limited, narrow view of the world made him feel threatened by the existence of two hard-working, highly educated, successful people who happen to be black. Wait. I want to know, who's going to tell him that the job he's currently seeking might just be one of those?
Trump's leadership style could be described as optimistic chaos mixed with pure confusion. His mornings began with flipping TV channels, shaping national policy based on whichever host smiled his way. Kimmel exposed that circus, and the internet laughed, not out of shock, but out of routine. It was just another Tuesday in Trump's world. Michelle, meanwhile, spoke about unity and empathy like she was performing an exorcism on everything he stood for. She embodied everything he couldn't buy, fake, or spin. A genuine soul without a brand deal attached.
We got an inside update on Trump's very extreme White House makeover. You know who apparently wasn't on board with the plan to demolish the East Wing? Melania. Melania did not join the president for his trip to Asia, and according to the Wall Street Journal, is not a fan of his latest renovation. The First Lady is said to have raised private concerns about building this ballroom, which I would have concerns about a room where I was expected to slow dance with Donald Trump too, but Melania has reportedly distanced herself from the teardown and told associates that it's, quote, not her project, which is also what she says about Eric and Don Jr.
Every time Michelle Obama spoke publicly, Trump seemed to schedule a rally just to prove he still mattered. She'd talk about compassion, he'd answer with all-caps tweets. She'd discuss community, he'd announce tariffs on Canada for existing. Watching the two side by side felt like seeing a motivational speaker and a conspiracy theorist share a stage. Kimmel didn't even need to exaggerate. He just highlighted Trump's words as living proof of self-sabotage. His obsession with crowd sizes and his ability to turn every press briefing into a circus made Kimmel's job feel like public service. If fact-checkers were firefighters, Trump's quotes would be California in wildfire season.
Trump visited several countries in Asia, Malaysia, Japan, South Korea. He avoided Vietnam just for old time's sake. But the big event was his sit-down with Xi. Just before their talk, Trump sent China a message. He announced that he's ordered the Pentagon to start testing nuclear weapons again. And that's right, if they won't give him the peace prize the regular way, he's going to take it by force. Reporters on Air Force One asked him why he decided to do this and why he decided to do it right before he met with the Chinese. And his answer was basically, I did it because...
Then there's Michelle, graceful, articulate, and overflowing with more class in a single sentence than Trump's entire brand empire could muster. Her speeches reminded people what real leadership sounded like before it shrank into slogans and hashtags. Trump's attempts at inspiration came off like a glitching PowerPoint presentation trying to sell patriotism as a subscription plan. Michelle could mention kindness, and somewhere in the White House, Trump would rage tweet about how unfair kindness was to him personally. His ego had become a national monument, massive, immovable, and in desperate need of repair. Kimmel didn't even need to perform anymore. Just showing clips of Trump speaking was enough to make audiences cry-laugh from secondhand embarrassment.
They're stoking fears about Black and brown Americans, lying about how minorities will destroy the suburbs, whipping up violence and intimidation. I want everyone who is still undecided to think about all those folks like me and my ancestors The moms and dads who work their fingers to the bone to raise their kids right. The teenagers who wear hoodies while working hard to get their diplomas. The millions of folks who look like me and fought and died and toiled as slaves and soldiers and laborers to help build this.
Michelle, by contrast, existed in another dimension entirely. While Trump built walls, she built opportunities. While he measured success in applause, she measured it in impact. He bragged about crowds, she inspired generations. It was like comparing a thunderstorm to a sunrise. One made noise, the other changed everything. Trump's obsession with image was his downfall. Every camera became a mirror, every journalist an enemy, every citizen an audience member in a show he couldn't stop performing. His public persona was a parody even satire sites struggled to exaggerate. This was a man who could win a spelling bee and still misspell victory. Watching him handle policy was like seeing someone try to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded while yelling at the colors for bias. Michelle could simply take a breath near a microphone and there'd be a full-blown Oval Office meltdown over how unfairly she was praised.
Because when making life or death, war or peace decisions, a president just can't pop off or lash out irrationally. No, we need an adult in the White House. So if a candidate is erratic and threatening, if a candidate traffics in prejudice, fears, and lies on the campaign trail, if a candidate thinks that not paying taxes makes you smart, or that it's good business when people lose their homes, if a candidate regularly and flippantly makes cruel and insulting comments about women, about how we look, how we act, well, sadly, that's who that.
Every Trump rally felt like deja vu, a remix of the same speech delivered by a man who misplaced his script back in 2017. He treated repetition like strategy and chaos like charisma. Kimmel turned that chaos into nightly art, dissecting each absurdity with surgical wit. Michelle Obama, on the other hand, embodied everything Trump's America seemed to lose: dignity, intelligence, and coherence. His presidency was a reality show that ran out of ideas in its pilot season, but refused to end because drama sold. Trump led by impulse, Michelle led by empathy. He chased ratings, she built respect. One sold hats, the other built hope.
Back here at home, the unrest in Portland continues to rage out of control. Antifa terrorists are destroying government. Oh, wait, that's the White House. Oh, that's what Trump did on purpose, without permission, to the White House. I told you we should have made him put down a security deposit. Over the summer, Trump announced he was going to build a big, beautiful ballroom, but promised it would not in any way affect the structure of the White House. And then he demolished the White House and left his Secretary of the Treasury.
Kimmel often joked that fact-checking Trump was like trying to catch confetti in a hurricane. His statements sparkled with confidence, but disintegrated under logic. Michelle's words, in contrast, built lasting inspiration. Kimmel reported the chaos with humor, while Michelle reminded America that leadership once sounded intelligent. Her presence alone exposed the emptiness of Trump's performance politics. He thrived on drama, she thrived on composure. One begged for attention, the other commanded it. Watching them side by side was like flipping between a motivational documentary and a blooper reel. One uplifted, the other confused.
Meanwhile, while he's asking for money, Trump himself is cashing in bigly. Trump and his family have reportedly made more than $1 billion in crypto alone over the past year. And I guess $1 billion isn't enough because he's also hawking watches. If you watch Fox News or Newsmax for more than like an hour, you will see Donald Trump, our president, doing this.
Hello, everyone. It's President Donald J. Trump, and it's Trump time. Check out this red beauty. It's one of my new watches. Wear it proudly on your wrist.
Yeah.
Trump truly believes everyone loves him, even those laughing at his expense. He mistakes mockery for admiration and boos for background music. Kimmel's wit slices through that illusion like a scalpel, turning every misstep into comedy gold. Michelle doesn't even need to mention him. Her success does the talking, keeping him up at night searching for new rivals to blame. Trump treats politics like brand warfare, where image matters more than results. But his greatest opponent isn't Democrats. It's competence itself. Every display of grace or intelligence feels like a personal attack to him. Kimmel's jokes sting not because they're cruel, but because they're true. Michelle's influence lasts not because she fights, but because she inspires. Trump's calls for unity sound like sales pitches during the storm he created, while Michelle's message of togetherness feels lived in and real.
Why didn't the president tell the public he was going to tear down the entire East Wing, which, as you know, is a part of the People's House?
I think this was a judgment call on the president. The president is a master builder. I don't know. I assume that maybe parts of the East Wing could have been asbestos, could have been mold.
Could have been some old Chinese food, could have been ghosts. We don't know. All we know is the only solution was to completely...
Kimmel's mockery makes sure the theatrics never go unchecked. Together, he and Michelle symbolize America's sanity, one using humor, the other using heart. Even Trump's allies seem perpetually drained, as if working with him requires emotional hazard pay. Michelle's circle, in contrast, radiates pride and purpose. Trump leads through fear of being forgotten. Michelle leads through the power of example. Kimmel simply highlights the truth, and it hits harder than any punchline. Trump's patriotism feels staged, flags like props, slogans like ads. Michelle's love of country feels authentic, steady, unshakable. He collects scandals like trophies, she collects achievements that speak for themselves. Her grace is his kryptonite, his insecurity her amplifier. Trump promised to drain the swamp, but ended up renting it out for campaign events. Kimmel exposes the absurdity, while Michelle rises above it all, untouched by the noise.
It's a commission that's supposed to review projects like this, preferably before they happen. It's called the Commission of Fine Arts. Their job is to oversee new federal architecture, or it was anyway. Trump fired all of them. They were supposed to advise the president on matters of design and aesthetics to preserve the dignity of the nation's capital, but this is Trump's idea of dignified aesthetics, so now Trump's planning to bring in a new group whose tastes align more with his. He's bringing in the architect from the Cheesecake Factory, Flavor Flav's orthodontist, and the plumber from Cribs to add a chocolate fondue fountain to the list.
Michelle Obama, with her quiet strength, reminds the world that real truth doesn't shout, it stands firm. The louder Trump yells, the smaller he appears beside her calm brilliance. His America feels like performance art gone rogue. He's both the director and the disaster. Her world is built on structure, sincerity, and the radical idea that empathy still matters. Kimmel thrives on the chaos pouring from the White House, but even he admits it's hard to satirize someone who beats satire to the punch. If politics is theater, Trump's presidency is improv with too much ego and no script. Michelle is the playwright who knows meaning needs purpose. Trump keeps trying to prove he's the star, never realizing the show only works because everyone else reacts to his chaos. When history finally sorts this era, Michelle will stand as the symbol of grace, and Trump as the warning of what happens when ego replaces leadership. Kimmel will be remembered as the man who turned national despair into laughter, helping America stay sane one roast at a time. Together, they didn't just dismantle Trump. They exposed the emptiness behind his empire of noise. In the end, his greatest enemy wasn't the critics or the comedians, it was the mirror. Every calm rebuttal, every elegant contrast from people like Michelle and Kimmel only reflected what was already true. The chaos never needed commentary, it performed itself. And while Trump still shouts for applause, the audience has long since moved on to people who don't confuse leadership with lighting cues.
I noticed that you went back to the White House recently. You haven't been back.
No.
Since
Wasn't invited. Ooh, shade. You know, that's a tradition. You do your official portraits. The next president is supposed to invite you back to hang them. We were never invited back. So these pictures have been done for a long, long